Hello, class. I am here to tell you my failure story. Um, this is quite a great story. I'm also not wonderful at PowerPoint, and this was just quite a struggle to even come up with this chart. So I hope that it can explain to you the hierarchy that I'm trying to describe. So my failure story involves ultimately three internal players at my workplace. To protect the guilty, I am using names from The Office, but the personalities aren't too different for those of you who know the characters from The Office. So at the top, we have the division chief, Michael Scott, sometimes described by people as arrogant, micromanaging, sort of rigid, super rigid, I would say. Not friendly, but polite. I didn't have too much to do with him in this situation, but I've had a lot to do with him since. So in the middle, Jim Halpert, the branch chief, this is the person who actually approached me to do the work that I'm going to describe to you. A lot like Jim Halpert from The Office, friendly, outgoing, wants to know how your family's doing, wants to sometimes greet you with a hug, super warm guy. Had a heart attack after his divorce. He's pretty young, probably mid to late 40s. So I think he feels like he got a second shot at life, and he really makes the most of it. And then the person for whom we were going to have this intervention, Dwight Schrute, team leader, not a lot like the actual Dwight Schrute, but grumpy guy. He was described as having left a trail of dead bodies. Nobody wanted to work for this guy anymore. Great with the customer, great product knowledge, great project manager, but not a good people manager. So probably early 2015, I was approached by Jim Halpert. He said, I desperately need your help. I have a team leader who's left a trail of dead bodies. His name is Dwight Schrute, came right out with the guy's name and everything. So he said, can we sit down and talk about possible opportunities for, I don't think he said intervention, but it was for an intervention. He's like, I got to do something. This guy makes a ton of money. The customer loves him. He's great at what he does technically, but we're losing good people left and right from underneath him. And I was over the moon excited because this was a real challenge. For the most part, I have a great coaching client base that I really enjoy working with, and they're mostly young people who they really want to skyrocket their career. They want to take it to the next level. They want to grow personally and professionally, and it's awesome. And I don't really want remedial work at all, but this seemed like a great challenge. They were really willing to invest money in making sure Dwight could stick around because he was a talented guy technically. So I brought out all my resources, all the certifications, and these are the different interventions that I can perform, and I can customize, pull in some from here and there, based on what I think he would really respond well to. And I'm thinking in my head and heart, oh my gosh, if I can just find it in my heart to love this guy, anything about this guy, I can connect with him and it will work. And I was excited. He was a male manager, not young at all, not a younger, newer employee, a seasoned 20 to 30 year employee there. I was really excited. And so I had all my stuff in front of me, and I sit down with Jim Halpert and I said, I'm thinking this and this and this. And he goes, oh no, he would never, ever respond to you in a million years. You're female. And my heart sank, and I thought, man, it's 2015. I'm 40 years old, and this has never been so explicitly an issue for me before. That somebody who thinks highly of me, Jim Halpert thinks highly of me himself, but knew that somebody under him would not respond to me at all, just based on my gender. So I was super deflated. I didn't take it too personally, just because the way that he had described Dwight anyway was pretty undesirable, right? So he seems like a sort of miserable guy. I'm not going to take it personally that he wouldn't respond well to me or an entire half the population just based on our gender. So the way I'm going to flip this failure around to turn into a positive is that Jim Halpert asked me to research external executive male coaches, which I did. And I found a nice looking older gentleman from the North Shore. He was white with gray hair, and he charged $19,000 for an intervention that I would have done for free, just my salary as an internal consultant. And I had the tools to do something like everything he did. It wasn't like he did this one great thing that I was like, oh, well, that's where you really had me. I had tools enough to do the same 6-month program that he facilitated for $19,000. A great thing that came from that for me, though, was that the gentleman, this nice older white gentleman with gray hair, utilized a system called the Results Accelerator System. And it's a full day deep dive coaching seminar where you really get into how some of your childhood behaviors are influencing your leadership style now and how it might not serve you anymore. And so it was the first time that I had really found a tool that I thought I could implement in our workforce and they would respond well to, and I could be like, oh, weird, look, that's from your childhood. Huh, it shows up here too. Anyway, moving on, and didn't need to like ask them about their childhood or really get into anything too traumatizing or therapeutic for that matter. And so from meeting this not elderly, but older executive coach gentleman who was going to utilize the result system, I asked to get certified in the result system. So that's a new certification under my belt. And I think another way that this failure really impacted me was I received certification in 2009 as an emotional intelligence coach. The program is called EQ at Work. And although the basis of all of my coaching is emotional intelligence, I stopped advertising it that way. I think that it might be one of those things like in all of our program where I needed to adjust my vocabulary to be what the people will hear. And so as of that moment, the next time I rebranded myself internally, it was as an executive leadership coach. The curriculum is exactly the same. The foundation is exactly the same. But this failure story gave me the confidence to say, I am an executive coach. I am a leadership coach. My basis is in emotional intelligence, but so is every executive leadership coaching program. And so it just helped me get smart about how I should advertise this a little bit. And both Michael Scott and Jim Halpert have called me in to do intervention work with other leaders in their organizations. And Dwight Schrute himself has sent one of his people to come to me for executive coaching. So although Dwight and I never worked together, he has passed me along as a reference for other people. So that's the way I'm turning my failure into a win. Thanks, guys. I look forward to hearing all yours as well.